IFL TV in association with MTK Global. With the President today, WBA World Champion George Groves defending against Jamie Cox in the first round of the World Boxing Super Series. Bit of a mouthful. Quite fortunate enough to be joined by IFL TV Virgin Andy Clarke. Welcome to the channel, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks very much for having me.
No,
I've watched your stuff avidly for years, so yeah, it's good to be talking to you.
Now, firstly, let's tell us a little bit about yourself for the viewers that may not have been familiar with your work in the past. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a boxing commentator, work mainly for Sky, but other people as well, so i.e. by the World Amateur Governing Body. I've just been in Hamburg covering the World Championships out there, but I've done a lot of stuff for Sauerland, various promoters around the country, to be honest, Matchroom also. Pretty much anyone you can think of at some point or another, I will have worked for them. So, you know, just the more boxing, the better. And there's, well, particularly at the minute, there's plenty to go around. Not that long ago, there were too many fighters and not enough TV, and now it's kind of the opposite, really.
Now, you've come to a lot of people's attention in this country for your work, notably on Sky. The commentary and the punditry has been very good. Talk to us a little bit firstly about this fight and this occasion.
Well, this fight's a really interesting fight, I think, because, you know, both of these two wouldn't have anticipated this happening not that long ago. They were both on the same bill in Sheffield at the end of May on the Kelbrook undercard. George Groves won his world title against Fedor Chudinov after 3 unsuccessful attempts. It was quite emotional, to be honest, watching it at ringside, seeing how much it meant to him to win. But Jamie Cox was on that bill too, and he won a WBA Continental title. And he's a really interesting fighter, I think, because he was a very good amateur. He won a Commonwealth title as a professional. He's had some problems. He's had terrible problems with his hands. He's had a few issues away from the ring, but he's now kind of on the straight and narrow, away from distractions, and he is a dangerous fighter. And the really interesting thing about this competition too is that they had a draw where the seeded fighters could pick their opponent, which is, I've never heard of that before. And Groves was the top seed, and he picked Jamie Cox. And that just adds an extra kind of element to it, because if you're Jamie Cox, you've got to take that as being a little bit of an affront, a little bit of a challenge to your manhood, if you like, as a fighter. That the number one, the WBA champion, the recognised proper WBA champion, if you like, has chosen you. He hasn't chosen you because he thinks you're going to beat him. He's chosen you because he thinks he's going to beat you, and he's going to look good doing it, which is what George Groves just said. So I think this should be a really, really good one.
With Jamie Cox getting some sort of criticism for his temperament in past fights, how do you think he'll handle such a big occasion with George Groves being the vastly more experienced man in this fight?
I think that is quite key, and whether he can do that or not, it's very hard to say, because he hasn't really had this kind of exposure before. That fight on the Kelbrook Spence undercard was kind of the biggest night he's been out on, really, you would say. So that's crucial, because temperamentally he has been a bit fragile in the past, but you know, he's moved to Birmingham now to train with John Costello. As I say, certain things that were maybe not doing him any favours are now been eliminated. But he needs to keep a bit of that, because you know, that is also what makes him slightly dangerous. My only kind of fear for him in this is that he can be a bit too easy to hit, or rather he doesn't seem to mind particularly taking punches, and taking them off other fighters is one thing, taking them off George Groves is quite another. So I think that's something they're going to need to have been working on. But he's really good to watch, Jamie Cox, because he likes it in the pocket. You know, he's never too far away from his opponent. He's always in punching range. That's what means that he can be caught. But you know, he's a natural kind of fighter in that regard. You know, he's one of these lads who looks really, really at home in the ring. And you know, make no mistake, you know, there's a world title on the line here. He's come to win this 100%, and he will not swallow it. There's no question about that. That is one thing that definitely will not happen.
With George Groves being the number one seed for the tournament and choosing Jamie Cox as his first pick, do you think he'll be looking to send a message of fear to the other super middleweight fighters in the division?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's a really interesting move from him to go into this competition, because when you're world champion, you know, all of a sudden you get, you know, you've got the options. You're the one who decides what happens, and to go into this competition-style format, the way the draws worked out is great, because if he wins, this is the way he'll be looking at it. If he wins, and if Eubank wins, which Eubank's expected to, he boxes the week before against Yildirim, the Turkish fighter, then those two will meet in the semi-finals, and that's a massive fight, like George Groves against Chris Eubank. You know, whoever picks up the UK TV for this, that's a big fight in anyone's estimation. And Callum Smith's also in it as well. You know, it's just a really good competition, and I think that Groves definitely will be looking to send a message. He'll definitely be looking to win this title, keep that WBA title. And as he said, you know, it's a fixture list. You get a fixture list which you never normally get in boxing. But he believes he's going to win this, and I think believes he's going to win it quite comfortably. But people will definitely be looking down the line at him against Eubank.
Andy, great to get you on the channel, champ. Thanks for giving us a bit of time today, and we look forward to watching you and hearing you on our TVs again real soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.